The leading car, Nico Verdonk, trying to break away. He was 2.9 seconds quicker than Bert Langin last time, but we'd seen Langin make a mistake and run wide. But now the fight's on for second and third places in real terms, because you can see the way that Raffaele Giammaria is closing up all the time to the Audi ahead of him. First of all, though, he's got to get past number 25, which is a lap back, but in 10th place overall. 25 is the Lamborghini that was started by Eugenio Amos. It is now being driven by Nicky Malhoff, and the redoubtable Prince Albert von Turn on Taxis will do the last stint in that car. Here's the leader, Nico Verdonk, then, going well, and out on his own on the restart. He's been able to build quite a substantial lead. You can see it over the traffic. Ignore the Ford. There is the second place car, the Audi. Ignore the Lamborghini. Third is the Porsche behind. And Giammaria now makes his move to the inside. Meyer Melnhof almost fainted to defend there, didn't he? He didn't give Giammaria the full width of the road, but the quicker Porsche goes through. Next target is going to be the second placed Audi, and that number 9 Porsche is still very definitely a factor for a race win here. By and large, Porsche's always a reliable GT car. We certainly saw at Monza it's good on the fuel, and now its pace is being picked up by Giammaria. After its spin, the number 45 Lamborghini down in 17th place, so Jean-Pierre Valentini, the regular French GT racer, has fallen a long way down the order, but still going. Baz Linders in the Ford after the early pit stop for that car, lost quite a chunk of time. He's down in 24th place, out of the equation. The BMW Z4 there, look, trying to attack, coming down towards turn 9. And 43 is Simon Knapp. Now what he wants to do is get past the traffic, because the BMW is in 5th place overall. Ahead of him is number 6, Ricardo Bravo, who is a lap back. So the orange Lamborghini, a bit of a spoiler here, for as long as it is ahead of the BMW. Ricardo Bravo, who is the former Spanish GT champion, is depriving the BM a chance of going after Marcel Fassler for a 4th placed fight. The Z4, new to the championship this weekend, wasn't at Monza, but going great guns here. Louis Machiel's behind, is now in 14th overall, but a lap down on the race leaders. Challenge for second, coming out of the last corner. The Porsche on the inside of Raffaele Giammaria storms past the Audi. So through goes the Autolando Sport Porsche ahead of Bert Langin. And number 45, the Lamborghini that we saw having a spin a lap or so ago, is about to get a 10-second stop-go penalty for leaving the pit lane when the pit lane lights were on red. So after Andrea Barlesi's good stint getting the car up into 2nd place, it's going from bad to worse now, I'm afraid, for number 45, the Gulf Racing team, with the Lamborghini. Valentini a spin, but also this pit stop infringement there. Number 38, Matteo Bobbi, going well. That was the car that had real problems yesterday after the team were given new software for the ECU, and software and ECU did not like one another. They've tried to bypass it as much as they can, and other than change the wiring looms, they've done everything they can, and it takes 2 days to sort out the looms, so you can't do that. So they're keeping everything crossed, and the car is getting stronger over the course of the weekend. It's currently Matteo Bobbi, who was the 2003 FIA GT champion. The year he won it with Thomas Biaggi. Matteo Bobbi at the wheel at the moment, and the car is running a lap down, but in 11th place overall. There's Bert Langin in 3rd spot now, and Marcel Fassler behind is lapping quicker. Just wonder what's going on for Bert Langin. I know he's had a bit of traffic to worry about, and I know he's been dicing, and that costs you a bit of time as well, but his lap time since the restart have not been all that great, and the experienced Belgian driver is certainly being caught by his teammate Marcel Fassler now. Fassler, one-time DTM Mercedes driver, winner of the Spa 24 Hours. So Langin out of turn 15. Fassler is 2 cars back. We've got the back markers between them of Nicky Malhoff, and Matteo Bobbi is next. But look at the Lamborghini in a straight line. It's got the pace of the Audi to the point where it's trying to unlap itself almost. So Bert Langin either has a bit of a problem or is driving at a very conservative pace here to look after fuel. But people are saying fuel's not an issue around this circuit. So a bit of head scratching here. Is the Audi genuinely not able to match the pace of those cars around it? Last time around, Meyer Melnhof did that Lamborghini's best lap of the race, so he's well fired up and he wants to get past. He also wants to try and pull away from Matteo Bobbi, and he's being frustrated here by a car that's a lap ahead of him. Again, one of the fascinations of these longer races with different driver combinations is to see how a car rises and falls through the order depending on who's behind the wheel of it. So the number 25 Lamborghini, 7th in the Pro Cup at the moment for the all-pro driver combinations. Raffaele Giammaria, though, in second place and lapping quicker than the leader. So this is where the battle is about to be joined between Nico Verdonk and Raffaele Giammaria in the Porsche. Quite a gap to make up, but as the cars now head through the final few corners of the lap, you see there, up on the inside of Bert Langin goes Marc Melhoff and goes Matteo Bobbi, and Marcel Fassler is going to look for a way through as well. He's on the inside, the two Audis switch over, so Marcel Fassler now goes up into third spot. Bert Langin drops to fourth. Has he got a problem? The car came in after 24 laps. We're now on lap 43. Ortelli did the opening stint. It was fuel and tyres and a driver change, nothing more than that. But certainly Bert Langin's laps have been a bit slower, and he's lost a chunk of ground on this lap. Two back markers have unlapped themselves because they've got the speed to do it, and his teammate has gone by as well. Over the timing line go the third and fourth place Audis then, and Langin's lap was a 43.8. That means he's lost 4 seconds to the Porsche. Raffaele Giammaria, one of the two quick drivers out there, because Nico Verdonk's upping his pace once again, so they're lapping in the mid to high 39s, everybody else in the 41s or slower. And the team manager of the Gulf Lamborghini that we've seen spinning and having pit lane infringements, the team manager there now being summoned to the race director. So that car's story is not yet over. Number 20, which led briefly when Ludovic Badet inherited the advantage under the safety car, has got Franck Morel at the wheel and is in now 9th place. It's on the lead lap still. Quick flash of the headlights there for number 3, which is the delayed Hexis Aston Martin. Julian Rodriguez at the wheel of it, looking for a way through the traffic. He's got the speed, of course, but he's so many laps behind now. An element of all of this is rather in vain. He is 11 laps down on the race leader, trying to pressure the 430 GT3 there into a mistake. And the car ahead is 42, which will go just a little wide coming out of turn 8. This is the car that is started by Carroll and is now being driven by Michel Petit, whose team it is, operated by Sport Garage. So you've got Rodriguez here, who is 26th. You've got Petit, who is 15th. So it's not a genuine fight for position. Whoops, it almost comes to blows there, as launching himself up on the inside comes Rodriguez. But behind them, on the lead lap, is number 20, I should say, Franck Morel, who is looking for a way by. He's got past one of those slower cars, but he doesn't want them fighting. He wants to have a clean run through. The car you saw in the pit lane is in for its stop and go. It's the Lamborghini number 45 we've been talking about. Raffaele Giammaria is now the quickest man on the circuit. He's just done number 9 Porsche's best lap. And there's a battle on as well for 6th place now. Number 7 goes over the timing line, which is another of the Pro Cup cars, this being Olivier Tielemans at the wheel, Mika Vähämäki having started that car, and Dennis Vollmeier will do the 3rd stint. Puff of tar smoke as he locks up there. 8th place overall, that car, and ahead of him there's a good fight going on for 6th place now. Gilles Vannelet, number 4 Aston, being caught by 43 BMW. There it is, just up the road. So 8th overall here, Olivier Tielemans. The sister car going well within the Pro-Am Cup, number 6, down in 14th place overall. Olivier Tielemans lapping a bit quicker, in fact, than those ahead, so there's a good fight developing, not just for 6th, but 6th, 7th and 8th are going to be together very shortly, with Aston Martin, BMW and Lamborghini. They'll be tied together, I reckon, within a couple of laps' time. Almost at the halfway point now. An hour and 36 to go here at Navarra in northern Spain, and you're looking at the leading car. Number 1, Nico Verdonk leads the way. Well, this car led briefly at Monza, but then had starter motor problems after the 2nd mandatory stop, so Michael Bartels never really got into the race. It goes over the timing line now. Verdonk leads the way. There behind is the Porsche, trying to bring down the gap. Verdonk upping his pace. He's on a 39.7. That's the sort of pace that Raffaele Giammaria is doing, and by hundredths of a second that time, Verdonk is quicker than the Porsche, so the gap just goes out ever so slightly. Number 18 goes by, which is the Pro-Am Porsche of Alessandro Bernetti. Right on his tail is Louis Machiels. That's a genuine battle. And number 10 there, Patrice Guillard, wants to lap the pair of them. He's a lap up, he's in 5th place. So Alessandro Bernetti, Louis Machiels fighting for a position within the Pro-Am Cup. They are in 12th and 13th places overall. They drop downhill and they're being caught by another of their class rivals, in fact, Ricardo Bravo in the orange Lamborghini. Well, Stefan Ortelli was the man that led early on, his car being driven by Bert Langin. Let's hear from Stefan with Haley.
Stefan, unfortunately, it looks like Bert seems to be slipping back. Is there any problems with the car?
There is not really a problem. I mean, it's obviously when the heat is there, it's a bit more difficult we are more struggle than the Ferrari and the Porsche. It seems to be quicker when the track is hotter. When it was without the sun at the beginning of the race, I was pretty much fast with this car, and I'm sure it's going to be a bit better, but we need to keep the pace like that. It's a great track also, you know, it's really demanding, you know, so you always fight, and there is some demanding corners, so I think Ben needs to take his pace as well, and it will be for sure an interesting second part of the race.
Thank you.
And Stefan Ortelli knows of what he speaks, having been a GT and sports car racer for many, many years now. Well, 32 Blancpain is in 4th place, and his lap times are getting better again, in fact, so as the temperatures fluctuate a little bit here, so does its pace, but he is lapping in the 140s, so is Fassler ahead of him, and the next lap that Blancpain does is just fractionally slower, 141.068, so by 69,000 he misses out on doing something in the 140 bracket, but he's still staying round about the pace of his teammate. And behind them in 5th, Patrice Guélard falling away a little bit because he's not lapping on the same sort of speed. But then for 6th place, we've now got the BMW of Simon now up ahead of Gilles Vannelet's Aston Martin. Olivier Tielemans behind them in 8th place. In 9th is number 20, Franck Morel, and 10th is Nicolas Meyer-Melnhof. The leading 9 at the moment, all on the same lap. And GT4 currently being headed by a Lotus 1-2, in fact, number 70 Leo Mansell ahead of 61 Laurence Fry. Right in the curbs, Verdon back into the race there after the stop-go penalty. Jean-Pierre Valentini down in 17th place. That's Olivier Tielemans, whose last lap was a slow one, a 1:45.094, and that's got a problem, that car, hasn't it? Because it just doesn't seem to have the pace that it needs to have. And it's ragged as well coming through turn 6, but you can see the way that Jean-Pierre Valentini, who is not normally on the same pace as Olivier Tielemans, is reeling him in. Tielemans is going to get out of the way here and bring that car to the pit lane. At Monza, during the pre-qualifying session for the opening round, it had this problem of accelerating and then suddenly dying, and the car would get back into life almost as though it were on the pit lane speed limiter. That wasn't the problem, but it had the same effect, and it rather looks as though the car has lost all pace again here. And so Olivier Tielemans will try and limp it round to the pit lane, the Lippert Motorsport car that he shares with Mika Vähämäki and Dennis Vollmeyer, tumbling down the order then as it limps round to the pit lane. Nico Verdonk having just pulled away a little bit last time, and there you can see storming through number 10, Patrice Guélard, still in a good 5th place, and ahead of him, getting it all wrong there, is Louis Machiels, who slides out wide. So Machiels, who was a lap down anyway, gives track position at least to the number 10, 458. Machiels is 12th, Guélard is 5th, but that's made Patrice's life very easy. No longer does he have to really fight away past the back marker. Slow cars get out of the way of number 6, Ricardo Bravo, whose teammate, Olivier Tielemans, are just coming to the pit lane in the sister car. So one of the Lippert Motorsport cars going well, the other, there it is, in problems. The Rhino's energy drink car comes down the pit lane, and Olivier Tielemans may clamber out. Yes, it looks a bit terminal, this, doesn't it? The Dutchman gets out of the car. Former World Touring Car racer, former DTM racer, new to the championship this year, but getting a bit frustrated, I think, that these mechanical problems keep intervening. The car looks good, sounds good. We know these cars can win in GT3 racing, but certainly the Lippert cars in the last couple of races that we've seen have been just a little bit frail. So the engine cover off, and engineers peering into the engine bay. Tielemans being encouraged back into the car, perhaps now to just treat this like a test session and see what can be done to cure the problem. But yes, out and walk away, but I think the team have had a rather stern word and said no, we're not done yet, get back in. 88 there, almost clashing into the side of Patrice Guélard, is the GT4 spec Aston Martin. The car was started by Giuseppe De Pasquale, and it is still being shown as Pasquale behind the wheel, but the team not always as vigorous as they should be in making sure the little switch for the correct driver identity is in the right place. So Philippe Rd2 and Raffaele Sangiolo are the other two drivers of that car, and I suspect it's going to be Rd2 behind the wheel now. Sangiolo, another experienced driver to do the last stint. In GT4, ahead of the Aston Martin, of course, is looking good for Lotus. There's the car that's second, 61, just turning into the corner. Lorenz Frey at the wheel. And number 2, Louis Machiels, trying to get back into contention. His next target is the number 38, Matteo Bobbi Ferrari, but actually Matteo Bobbi is pulling away, as you might expect, because he really is a pro driver. The fact that the car is a lap down is more to the fact that it's perhaps not got the ultimate pace with its misfire dramas of the ECU this weekend. So Louis Machiels falling away, Matteo Bobbi still in the top 10, but a lap adrift of the race leaders, and having been ushered back towards the car now is ushered back towards the garage. Number 7, Olivier Tielemans, then is not in the immediate future going anywhere. Here over the line, Nicolas Meyer-Melnhof, still in 9th place, and a lap down on the race leaders. Frustrating really for that team, because the car has got the speed now, hasn't it, relative to Bert Langein's Audi, which is stuck there behind. Up they go through turns 2 and 3. In fact, it's not Bert Langin, it is Marcel Fassler. That's another car that the Lamborghini has managed to unlap itself from. Downhill they drop, and Fassler trying to find his way through. But Meyer-Melnhof, yes, does give him racing room. I was fearing he might try and make a battle out of this, but now the Audi goes through, works its way ahead of the white Blancpain-backed Lamborghini. Now the race order, Nico Verdonk leading in the Pro Cup ahead of Raffaele Gianmaria, Marcel Fassler 3rd, and Bert Langin is 4th there. Patrice Guillard 5th, and in 6th and 7th places you've got the Ferrari and then Lamborghini, number 25, we've just been talking about, of Nicolas Meyer-Melnhof ahead of Matteo Bobbi. Then number 7 in the pit lane, Olivier Tielemans, with his troubled Lamborghini at the moment. The Pro Cup being for the combinations of drivers where you've got all of them being professional drivers. Pro-Am, of course, this mixture of having the gun for hire against the quick amateur races, or indeed to get in the Pro-Am Cup you are a career racing driver still without major international successes. So a number of young single-seater racers can get in there without having done a huge amount of winning. This car looking very strong in the Pro-Am Cup, the BMW Z4, which leads the way. Simon Knapp at the wheel of it, former Formula Ford racer, ahead of the number 20 Sofrev Ferrari, and then number 2 the Vita 4-1 Louis Machiels driven Ferrari. 4th there is the number 6 Lamborghini, Riccardo Bravo at the wheel, ahead of the number 18 Porsche, now being driven by Alessandro Bonetti, and 6th in that class, number 42 Michael Petit at the wheel. But you can see lower down the order there, 1 or 2 of the cars out of the race because of Jack Gerber's Ferrari's damage we know about, for example, being in the barriers and going no further. One of the Hexis AMR cars in trouble in a sense, number 4, Gilles Vanelay, 7th, the team manager being summoned to the race director. We've not seen anything untoward, I don't think, from that car. But the GT3 Aston has attracted the attention of the race officials for some reason. There are the 2 Hexis Astons, in fact, coming towards us. Sandwiching number 20, Franck Morel in 8th place overall. And 2nd within the Pro-Am Cup, in fact, is Franck Morel for the Sofrev ASP Autosport Promotion team. Ferrari drops downhill. Morel's next target is Gilles Vanelay, the man ahead of him in the number 4 Aston Martin, and Vanelay busy flashing his headlights at the back markers to say, come on, out of my way please, need to get past in a hurry here, which he does, goes up on the inside. Number 31 is Fabien Michal at the wheel now of the car that leads the Gentleman Trophy. It was started by Georges Cabin, and now Fabien Michal, having taken it over, comfortably leading the class, which has dwindled a little bit after we lost the number 22 Ferrari early on in the race. Philippe Scherer having an accident in this car that Lionel Comol put on the class pole position. 38 there is Matteo Bobbi working his way through traffic, going ahead of the Giorgio Pioli, Stefano Bianconi, Stefano Villa Porsche, which was the car that was quite badly damaged in the practice sessions yesterday. It ducks out of the way, everybody storms by. And behind is the Nissan, back into the race of Jordan Tresson, but still it would appear struggling a bit on the reliability front this weekend. 32 Bert Langin then turning his way up towards turn 3, falling away once more from Marcel Fassler. So the car's pace is okay, it's keeping it ahead of many, but it's inconsistent. Some laps good, some laps are slower. Second they were, Langin, Ortelli and Albuquerque at Monza after a puncture earlier on. Lotus 1-2 within GT4. with the Piscopo Mansell Lotus ahead of number 61 now Lawrence Frey, with Rolf Maritz and Freddie Bath doing the driving. Third there is the Philippe Broodker and Raffaele Sangiolo and Giuseppe De Pasquale driven Aston Martin. And because of the safety car intervention, the leading Lotus, there it is, has got the best part of a lap, give or take a couple of corners, over the number 61 car. So it's a massive advantage that Leo Mansell now has in the GT4 battle. You can see the car that is behind is the 88 Aston, which has not been running at the same pace anyway. So they were the class winners at Monza, Eduardo Piscopo and Greg and Leo Mansell, and it looks at the moment as though they're in a very comfortable lead indeed. So they can afford to just slacken the pace off a little bit, maybe, drive well within themselves, and make sure they don't put a wheel wrong here, because another class win is there for the taking, that's for sure. Out of turn 8, now the run down to this very fast straight. Good place to do so, out braking at the very end of into the tight turn 9 right-hander. The Blancpain Endurance Series second round of 5, because after Navarra it goes to Spa, Manicourt for an evening race, and then the UK round at Silverstone second weekend in October. The regulations say you've got to have 2 or 3 drivers per car, 2 mandatory pit stops, and not only do you have to change tyres, but you also got to refuel at those, and in most cases they will change drivers as well if they can on the hour mark. You've got the 4 classes really within GT3, Pro, Pro-Am, the Gentleman Trophy, and now the GT3 Cup within the Gentleman Trophy. There's the class of the GT4 cars as well. You've got to be in the top 10 in each class to score points. And this weekend, 11 different brands represented on the grid. Ferrari, Aston Martin, Lamborghini, Porsche, Audi, Ford, Lotus, Nissan, Maserati, Ginetta, and add BMW to the list for this weekend. Number 4, Gilles Vannelet, is about to be given a drive-through penalty for overtaking under the safety car. That's why the team manager of the Aston was being summoned to the race director, and that means that Nicolas Meyer-Melnhof, who was right on his tail anyway in the Lamborghini, is about to be gifted 8th place. Here, meantime, is Bas Linders in the Ford GT. Problems for the BMW, having just worked his way into the top 6. It's a bit smoky. Is that mechanical smoke or is that tyre against bodywork? I fear it is mechanical. Or is it a bit low? Maybe on that rear corner it is, isn't it? It's got a puncture possibly, or broken suspension. The tyre looks inflated, but it's low, as though the whole car has dropped on the right-hand side. So it looks like it's a possible suspension drama here for the number 43 BMW that's limping back to the pit lane. Desperate luck this, because the car up into 6th place. You can see the way it's crabbing its way back to the pit lane, and as the car has sat down, so the smoke is there as the bodywork does scuff the tyre. Simon Knapp wanting to bring it back as quick as he can, but without doing any more damage to that car. So faster racing with DB Motorsport running the car this weekend. First time out in the Blancpain Endurance Series, I'm afraid to say, are about to be in the pits. And it looks as though it's going to be a lengthy stop. So Simon Knapp crawls round, trying to come back at a speed that won't lose them too much time in the hope they can get the car back in the race. But what he doesn't want to do is go so quickly that he damages the car. What's caused that, don't know. Whether there was any contact, whether he's rattled over a curb at high speed, it's hard to know. But into the pit lane comes the BMW, and there's another one, I'm afraid, for Haley to go and investigate. Far higher mortality rate here than we had at Monza. So with the demise of the BMW, number 20 into the lead of the class here. This is the Pro-Am Cup class leading Ferrari, Franck Morel. Remember, it was the car that Ludovic Badet drove in the first stint very effectively and did briefly lead the race in, and Jean-Luc Bobelic will drive for the final part of the race, the experienced French driver. There's the BMW that has finally been dragged back to the pit lane, but that might well be the last we see of that car. More team managers being summoned to the race director as well, so I think we might have a few more drive-throughs being thrown around soon. And we do, because Louis Machiels is now being given a drive-through for overtaking under the safety car, and that's significant because he would be 3rd in the Pro-Am Cup, the leader of which you're looking at in the pit lane. Leader no more because of the problems, but the Pro-Am Cup now having a real shuffle of the order, partly because of mechanical maladies like this and partly because of drive-through penalties. So the BMW heads for its garage. Little trolley jacks go underneath, turn the car around, in it goes. And Jeroen de Boer is there ready to take over, but whether or not the car will go back in the race is a moot point. Clearly the car with a problem. Out gets Simon Knapp. In gets Jeroen de Boer. And drive-throughs, as I say, for Gilles Vannelet, who's yet to serve that, but it's been on the timing screen for a couple of laps now, and now also Louis Maciel's number 2 is being given a drive-through penalty as well. 45, Jean-Pierre Valentini heading towards us after his stop-go, down in 16th place. Bas Leinders takes the track place off him at least. Down in 21st overall is Bas Leinders. He can't really salvage much in terms of the overall position here. He's 6 laps down, but what he can do is just drive the car as fast as he can. And here, a masterclass in how to drive a GT3 car. Down through the gears, sets the car up, and now back on the power. Just listen to that noise. Back down through the box, checking his mirrors, checking what's around him, making sure that he's not coming up on any traffic as well. All the time looking for the optimum line through the corners. Flat out, Bas Leinders trying to bring that car back into contention. And the carrot ahead of him, if you like, is a car that's in the top 4 that he can chase, so he can gauge his pace relative to that of the GT3 cars that haven't lost ground earlier on, because there he is right on the tail of one of the 2 WRT run Belgian Audi Club Audi R8 LMSs, dropping downhill. The Ford GT then in 21st place, but he can gain a couple of spots here before the end because he's on the same lap as the next couple of cars ahead of him. So if they carry on like this, and given the way that other teams have had problems, 21st now, but might be in the mid-teens by the end of the afternoon if the Marc VDS Racing Team Ford GT can keep out of any further trouble. So we've had cars, as we've seen, with problems during the race. We also lost one even before the start. The Maserati never made it onto the grid. In fact, that had an axle problem, and so one of the 11 brands here, but not on the grid. Down through the gears goes Bas Leinders. Quick check at the mirror, looking for the clipping points all the time, looking for the apex of the corners. Turns in, power down, where possible, using the curve as part of the racing line. Down a couple of gears, turns right, back on the power, up through the box. You can see how much you have to work around this circuit. There's very little respite for the drivers. The back straight and the pit straight, about the only chance really you get to catch your breath. This is the start and finish line now. Speed building all the while. Into top. And now you've got to brake, change down and turn all at the same time. Down he goes, down through the box, through turn 2. Down another couple of gears into turn 3. Bas Leinders hard at work then. Staying on the tail of the Audi as best he can. Makes a great noise, the Ford GT. Very charismatic car, recreating effectively the Ford GT40 days. And you see these cars not only in GT3, but in the GT1 World Championship as well. Now in the pit lane, there is the disappointing sight of the BMW Z4. Shock absorber problem is apparently the cause of its problem, the pit stop. So the Z4 hopefully can get back out again. Useful test exercise, if nothing else, for the team now, but a lot of time is being lost here. Squad hard at work. And a car that's normally to be found in the 1-hour races of the FIA European GT3 Championship, now turning its attention to the longer endurance discipline. Here's the race leader, though, Nico Verdonk, who a few laps ago was starting to feel a bit more of a threat coming from the Auto Orlando Sport Porsche behind him, but that's not really materialised. Raffaele Giammaria hasn't been able to maintain the lap times quick enough to really bring down the gap against Nico Verdonk, so they go across the line now. At least the leader goes across the line. He's got probably 2/3 of the length of the pit straight between him and the second-placed Porsche, which in turn is being caught just a little by Marcel Fassler in the number 33 Audi. There's the leader, but across the line has gone Giammaria, whose lap time has gone up again. He's very nearly a second slower than Fassler on that lap. What's going on here for the Porsche? The car did 24 laps in its first stint, and of course that was a relatively short stint, people coming in under the safety car in order to change tyres, refuel and change drivers, but 2 slowish laps by Giammaria. Could be down to traffic. Maybe he's trying to just eke out a bit more fuel economy here. try and get this so that it can go to the end of the hour and they can put Paolo Roberti in for the last 60 minutes. Up towards turn 8 goes the Porsche. Nico Verdonk still up front. Having said that, of course, we've had an extra safety car period since the original round of pit stops, so that should have helped the fuel economy to a degree. But this is why endurance racing is so fascinating, and the brains trust on the pit wall trying to work out exactly where they stand in the situation. Don't think we're going to have the requirement for the last gasp refueling that we saw at Monza. Matteo Bobbi then out of 38, Carlos Iaconelli to get in, and this is the Scuderia Vittoria car. Short middle stint that from Matteo Bobbi. So Carlos Iaconelli with, what have we got now, an hour and 14 minutes still to go, gets on board. Is he going to be there behind the wheel at the very end of the race? Scuderia Vittoria, British-based team. Piers Maserati, Danny Buxton, Tom Ferrier, all racers themselves. The people that owns this team, and this car has been pretty busy. It did the Blancpain round at Monza, then it went and did 2 British GT races at Alton Park and won one of them from the back of the grid. Then it had a 2-hour race, I should say, at Snetterton last week. Now 3-hour race here, so the mule, as it's been dubbed, is certainly getting its miles in, that's for sure. Now look at the Aston Martin there, number 8, which is the Eddie Renard car. Behind, you'll see is Leo Mansell. Now just look ahead of the Aston Martin. That's the car that's second in GT4. In other words, Leo Mansell, being monstered there by Nicolas Meyer-Melnhof, is about to lap the car that's second in GT4. We saw them a little while ago and it was the best part of a lap lead. Now it's about to happen. 3 wide, cars dive into turn 5, but they're up on the inside. Number 70, Leo Mansell, goes a lap ahead of the second placed GT4 Lotus. Some of that is down to the pace of the drivers, some of it is down to the safety car situations we've had, but either way, what that now means is that it's a very comfortable advantage that Greg Mansell will be given for the 3rd stint in the race. Meyer-Melnhof there, 25 in 8th place overall. The Lamborghini heading down towards us at turn 8, and Meyer-Melnhof's next target, Gilles Vannelet, who has had the drive-through penalty notified for him for overtaking under the safety car. There in second in GT4, Lorenz Frey in the Toyota Switzerland sponsored Lotus. Slightly incongruous backer to have, and behind is Bert Langevin, still in 4th place. But look at Patrice Guélard now riding the curbs there because he's desperate to stay on the back of the 4th placed Audi. This is another battle developing for position, and Langevin, because of these slow laps that he's been doing, he's being reeled in by Patrice Guélard, who at the moment is the 2nd fastest man on the circuit. The experienced Frenchman here is going great guns right there on the back of Langevin, and we could yet get a change for 4th place before the next round of pit stops. Over the timing line goes Nico Verdonk as the race leader. Gianmaria's Porsche still 2nd. Fassler will be 3rd, and then here 4th and 5th coming over the line. You've got Langevin and Guélard, and Patrice Guélard lines up to have a go on the inside, but he can't get through for 4th there. Out of turns 2 and 3 they will turn, and the gap nothing at all. Now here sometimes is where Langevin is a bit susceptible to pressure and goes wide. Right on his tail is Guélard. Ferrari dives to the inside line, heading towards turn 4, can't do it. Langevin stays ahead, drop downhill towards turn 5 now. Gap widens ever so slightly. The Audi team ready in the pit lane to receive a car, as having just got a lap down, in fact, number 61 Lotus has come in. And so the Audi team ready. Felipe Albuquerque ready to take over number 32, and Bert Langevin here, you get the feeling he's on borrowed time, don't you, for that 4th place. Patrice Guélard is behind him, and the svelte 458 lines up to have a go on the inside. Can't do it though. Bert Langevin doesn't have to defend, he's just got enough grunt in a straight line, enough pace to hang on to the position as they go through turn 9. Can he hang on before he pits? Gilles Vannelet, who I was talking about with his drive-through, is now serving that, and potentially that will give Nicolas Meyer-Melnhof a better chance now of moving up into 2nd within the battle they're having, the two of them. In fact, Meyer-Melnhof 8th overall will go 7th overall now and gets closer to his class opposition, and Ricardo Bravo is the one closing on Vannelet now for the lead, the 2nd place I should say, in the Pro-Am Cup. Langevin does pit then, so he was able to hang on to 4th until the end of his stint. Comes in now, team ready, and so Langevin to give way to Felipe Albuquerque. 2nd, the team was at Monza, hampered by punctures and a late race fuel stop, and Felipe Albuquerque here has got 70 minutes, effectively, of driving duties to do. Bert Langin out of the car. So Stefano Ortelli having done a good, if short, opening stint. Bert Langin having to cope with the safety car periods. That has fallen down from fourth place, having effectively been battling for the race lead after the safety car period, the first of the two. And now it's up to Felipe Albuquerque to be a hero, and they're going to... I was going to say keep it on the original set of tyres. No, they do jack it up in the end. The tyres hidden behind the other side of the car, so new boots will go on for the last stint. 4 mechanics only can work on the car, so out they come with the tyres. So Bert Langin having done his work for the day. And the 61 Lotus now with Rolf Maritz at the wheel, going down the pit lane back into the race. Old Michelin's off, new Michelin's on. So are we going to have an Audi versus Ferrari fight to the end? Felipe Albuquerque then rejoins. The car will of course lose places while it's pitting like this, and Bert Langin brought the car in at the end of lap 59. It will, I think I'm right in saying, go a lap down here. So Nico Verdonk leads the way, and indeed a lap down goes Felipe Albuquerque. He should gain that lap back on the pit stop for the number 1 leading car, but he can't afford to lose any time at the start of this stint. And Marcel Fassler there is right up behind him. Fassler, of course, being 3rd overall. He's done a very long middle stint in that car. The other driver that will get in, Greg Franchi, the former single-seater racer, the Belgian driver who will do the last stint. So Felipe Albuquerque lets the quicker car go on his outlap while he's getting himself up to speed and everything up to temperature, getting the warmth into the new set of Michelin tyres that's just been put onto the Audi. But 2 laps, 3 laps certainly into the stint, Albuquerque's pace, I would have thought, is going to be mighty impressive, and he needs to be as well to get that car back into contention. The number 9 Porsche of Raffaele Giammaria last time around fell away from Nico Verdonk, and in the last stint it's going to be Michael Bartels versus Paolo Roberti, number 1 to number 9. 11.8 seconds is the gap now between Verdonk and Giammaria, so it needs to stay round about that or less, really, to give the number 9 Porsche any chance of scoring a second win in a row in the Blancpain Endurance Series. There is Albuquerque wriggling his way through the traffic, and now look, as things come up to temperature, so he's a bit more confident to stay on the back of Marcel Fassler's sister car. The Ford GT there bailing for the pit lane. Bas Linders comes in, and that means that Maxime Martin will have his stint behind the wheel. The Belgian driver yet to have a go behind the wheel of that car. Down the pit road comes the Ford, and there, one of the Hexis Astons in strife. That's the Gilles Vannelet car that has either overshot its pit box or made a pit stop and has had a problem leaving, but I think it's overshot, looking at the way that the car was on the pit apron. So the mechanics push it back, and it is going to lose its class lead this lap through, because it's going to lose its second place in class, I should say, to Ricardo Bravo. Right, so Vannelet's car in the pit lane, and a drive-through penalty now being applied. There are so many of them being handed out to number 42. This is the Michel Petit, Christophe Jouet, Eric Cayrol Ferrari. That's for overtaking under the safety car. Right, there's the Hexis Aston, number 4. So Gilles Vannelet, who's already had a drive-through, by the look of it, overshot the pit box, and the car for the last stint is going to be in the hands of Fred Makovici, but it's effectively now 2 laps down on the race leaders. So not even, I fear, the heroics of Fred Mako are going to be able to get the car into contention now. May be able to gain a few places before the very end. The Ford GT, Maxime Martin at the wheel, is now on its way up the pit lane, back into the race. New tyres applied to the number 4 Aston. But Fred Makovici falling further and further down the order here. The Ford GT, by the way, up into 19th spot now, so it has been able to gain ground. And the race, with 65 minutes to go, still being headed by number 1 Nico Verdonk. Out sprints Greg Franchi to relieve Marcel Fassler. So the car that was in 3rd place comes into the pit lane, and the Swiss driver hops out. Belgian hops in. driver change and refuelling the first part of the pit stop. Then the car will be up on the jacks for a new set of tyres. And what this now means is that Patrice Goëlard is up into third place, and that car shouldn't be discounted. Jérôme Policon will take over. We know how quick he is. Another experienced former single-seater racer turned sports car star. Still the fuel goes in to try and get the car to the end of the race. And then up goes the Audi. The new set of tyres will go on to 33. 32, Felipe Albuquerque in 6th after his pit stop. A lap back, but as I say, he should get that back when Nico Verdonk pits. So 11.8 seconds was the gap between Nico Verdonk and Raffaele Giammaria, but it's widened because next lap through, 6 tenths quicker, goes the Ferrari than the Porsche. So although Raffaele Giammaria's stint started well, he's not been able to maintain the same good lap times and indeed maintain the gap. It's been up and down a little bit. Away goes Greg Franchi then, the Belgian driver back into the race, and a very good, solid, fast pit stop that by the Audi team. So Greg Franchi heads towards the exit of the pit lane. A man that began in Formula Ford, he's had his spell in Formula Renault, in Formula 3, but then turned his attention to Belcar, the Belgian GT Championship for a time. He's raced in the Eurocup Megane Trophy, and in fact was a winner in the FIA European GT3 Championship in the second round of the series at the Algarve in race 2 there. Nico Verdonk leading the way. Louis Machiel's Ferrari number 2 is now, you can see there, in 8th place, but under pressure, right on his tail, is Ricardo Bravo. These two cars both run in the Pro-Am Cup, so it's a battle not only for 8th on the road, but also for a class position. The class is being led by number 20, the Ferrari 458 that Franck Morel drives for the Sofrev team, but for second in class, Louis Machiels versus Ricardo Bravo. Here they come, Ferrari versus Lamborghini over the line. Alessandro Bonetti, who was 4th in the class, has just pitted, in fact, to the Porsche. So, as their number 10, Patrice Goëlard, is in to give way to Jérôme Policon. Now, that might be a pretty shrewd move, actually. Get Jérôme into the car before Bartels or Robert to get into numbers 1 and 9, and therefore just give him another couple of laps to get himself bedded in. And therefore, that should mean that he's bang on the pace for when he needs to try and take the fight to Bartels and Roberti for the final stint of the race. Down the pit road there is the Ferrari 430, car 42, which is serving its drive-through, and Richard Petit is at the wheel of it. Christophe Jouet will take over. The car started by the experienced French driver Eric Cairol. So the fuel has gone in, the tyres go on. Jérôme Policon is behind the wheel. Patrice Goëlard, having done a good stint, bringing that car up into 3rd place, relays information, but he's lost now on this pit stop 2 places back to the Audis. So Jérôme Policon falls back behind Greg Franchi and Felipe Albuquerque. So what we now have is Nico Verdonk leading Raffaele Giammaria, Franck Morel 3rd, but those 3 cars have to serve another stop. So 4th is Greg Franchi's Audi, 5th is Felipe Albuquerque's Audi, and 6th, 25, Nicolas Meyer-Melnhof, he's got to make another stop. And this car, 7th, in the hands now of Jérôme Policon. There is 33, Greg Franchi, who, after his final stop, or the car's final stop, is a lap down on the leaders, but he'll gain that back next time around. They are long stops, but that's partly because of the necessity to do the driver change and the fuel as one part. And you can see the Nissan has come in again, 63, Chris Ward, the 1993 champion of Alton Formula Ford series winner, about to get on board that car, the senior Silverstone race instructor. And this is becoming a longer stop than it should be for number 10, as though the car won't restart or something has gone wrong. Number 20 goes by, that's in 3rd place, but it's got another stop to make yet. Number 20 for Jean-Luc Bobelic to take over, Franck Morel leading the Pro-Am Cup. But number 10 still in the pit lane, and there's a problem for sure here. Jérôme Policon should by now be back out on the circuit. And whatever it is, it's in the cockpit where the attention is, isn't it? Mechanic leaning in, or mechanics, plural, one on either side. But what's the problem? It's not going anywhere. Door closed in resignation by the mechanic there, and having just got up into 3rd place, the Ferrari now is not only losing places, it is losing laps. And having suggested that it shouldn't be discounted, you can now discount that car, because it is now 2 laps down on the race leaders. 32, Felipe Albuquerque goes through, and as the